Hello, welcome everyone. As people are coming in, we're gonna get started here. My name is Hunter. I am one of the hosts and moderators here at Power to Fly, and we're so happy to have you here today for this hour-long chat that we're gonna be doing with HealthFirst. Ooh, I can already, Michelle, I didn't warn you. I have a little dog, and that might happen. So there it is. Okay. So Francis might be making an appearance. We're still breaking in this little puppy. So folks, we have Michelle Hicks here from HealthFirst, which coincidentally happens to be my healthcare provider. So I'm very happy to be here.
That's awesome. That's great.
Small world.
Yeah.
We were just chatting about New York City, where we both reside, and HealthFirst does a lot for New Yorkers. So we're going to be talking about, I'll probably pop in some questions about that. But first, a little bit of housekeeping, friends. So please feel free to participate. You can turn your cameras on and you can ask questions in the chat. You will show up on the live stream if you do come off mute, but I think we're going to be mostly doing questions through the chat for this one. This is being recorded, FYI, and we can send you the email with that link following this chat. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask anonymously or any troubleshooting stuff, you can go ahead and ping me in the chat privately. So if you just go to the chat, if it's your first time using it, if you want a little refresher, go to the chat, find my name, Hunter Canning with Power to Fly, and you can message me directly and anonymously. And if you'd like to keep up with us on social media, we're at Power to Fly on all of the things. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So like I mentioned a little bit here, we're going to be chatting with Michelle from HealthFirst. HealthFirst is a healthcare provider and really up to some awesome things, and based here in New York, I believe. So a little bit about Michelle. Michelle leads a team of HR business partners and change management practitioners at HealthFirst, a New York-based healthcare company with over 5,000 employees, 1.8 million members, which I am one of those 1.8, as I mentioned, and 14 billion in revenue. Michelle has over 25 years of experience working at leading corporations and nonprofits in a range of industries, including publishing, finance, healthcare, and the arts. As a HR partner, Michelle specializes in developing leaders at all levels with particular focus on coaching, collaboration, delivering feedback, and influencing to achieve business goals and growth. So we will be focusing on these topics today, the main takeaways. And if you want to direct your questions in this realm, that's encouraged but not required. Why adaptability is so important in a changing professional world. I think we can all identify with that right now. The importance of networking and connections in finding career growth, and why understanding your passion can help you choose the right professional path and company. So those are the bullet points. And here is Michelle Hicks. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, Hunter. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and excited to be representing HealthFirst and excited to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is professional development and to that end, networking as well, and this new normal. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Oh yeah, so excited to have you. Thank you for making the time today.
Absolutely.
So is there anything that you'd like to maybe touch on before we jump into the pre-submitted questions about perhaps your career journey that I may have skipped over, or anything that you'd like to highlight before we jump in?
Well, I'd like to say professional development really is near and dear to me because I've been one of those lucky people that have had a lot of great mentors in my life. I've just been very lucky to have people who were looking out for me. And sometimes when I wasn't necessarily looking out for me. So if you don't have someone like that in your life, in your career, look for them and identify people, because there's more often than not, people want to help each other. So I guess that will be my intro to this discussion.
I'm really glad you touched on that right out of the gate, because I think it's important. I think it's valuable to hear that mentorships and networking has helped you in your path, because I feel like we talk about this a lot, and we're going to talk at Power to Fly, and I think in various industries, the importance of it. And I think it's wonderful to hear like, oh, here's a success story of it. So yeah. So friends listening in here, as I mentioned, you can participate. So feel free to drop in the chat. Oh, thank you, Eleanor. Hello to me and Francis. Francis will have to make an appearance. He's thank goodness the little one's napping. So if you have a dog or pet, yes, Francis. Oh, he's so sweet. He's 6 months old, but I won't make the next hour about him, even though I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna resist. If you have a pet or a favorite plant, feel free to drop a little shout out in the chat, maybe where you're calling from as well. And if you have any questions for Michelle as it's coming up, drop it in the chat, and Michelle and I can see that, and I'll either bring it to our attention, or Michelle, if you see a question that you want to cherry pick out, feel free to jump in there.
Sure.
Great. So first off, in this topic of the new normal, can you, Michelle, touch on like what are the keys to navigating the new normal successfully? And maybe if you could define for us, from the way you see it, what is the new normal?
Sure. Well, the new normal includes a lot of virtual meetings like we're having right now. And there are a lot of pros and cons to that, which I will talk about in just a moment. But it does, one of the big things is it has a way of making your day kind of blur or blend into one long meeting, because there's little to differentiate from one meeting to the next. You're no longer, or most of us are not going to another floor or a conference room or running into people in the hallway. So I think it's really important to be more intentional and deliberate with your time. When you're meeting with people, try really hard to always turn your camera on. Think about dressing professionally and smile. I'm going to try to remember to smile throughout this, and initiate conversations just to get to know one another. As you might in person, to make it feel a little bit more natural. And there definitely are a lot of positive aspects to this new normal. One of the obvious things is work time flexibility is a huge one. No more commuting long distances, or at least not as often. More time with family and friends and pets. Hunter, you mentioned Francis, and I've got a couple of cats behind me, Simon and Gus, who are really curious about what's going on here. So they may make an appearance as well. So employees have the opportunity to flex their work schedules and add a lot of balance to their lives. And really, isn't that just, that's priceless. And for some, we are far more productive at home, and that can make a big difference. But now on the downside, the challenge to that is it could lead to overworking too. And it's really important to set some boundaries for your work day, so that blending from one meeting to another doesn't become just a 24-hour job. Another challenge around this, since our topic is professional development, it's a little more challenging to develop, particularly if you're an introvert. You guys may have figured out I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I love people, love meeting them. And when we work in person, it feels a little bit more natural to get to know people and to ask questions about their careers or ask for advice. So in this setting, a virtual setting, you have to push yourself a little harder to try some things that maybe don't feel so natural. So I recommend reaching out to strangers on LinkedIn, people at companies you admire or jobs you're interested in. And one of the great things about this new normal is that we're kind of all in the same situation. It's a little bit of a level playing field. So it's perfectly acceptable and normal to connect with strangers or anyone virtually. So that's a good thing.
Fantastic. You sparked my attention on so many things there. One thing I'm going to shamelessly plug, just because it was such a great talk, you talked about, and I'm dropping in the chat here, you talked about it being a challenging time for introverts. And if you identify or are curious about being or maybe working with others that are introverts, this person here, Jacqueline, she's an introvert. I got to chat with her last week, and she's created a whole plan to help people in these times about how to work with that energy and, see it as there's ways that it's a strength in a lot of ways. So check out Jacqueline's work, just a little detour there. And you can see her page there. You can Google her, you can watch our chat, or just go to her website. She's so awesome. So
That's great.
Back to Michelle.
Okay. There's a lot of chats and a lot of comments, so I couldn't find hers, but I'm definitely going to look for her.
Okay, great. Yeah, her name is Jacqueline Shawless. I just dropped the link to our Power to Fly summit there, or her page. You can also Google it, and I think it's probably on YouTube by now, but if not, it'll be up next week. And yes, Michelle, we're getting so many great comments in the chat already. Folks shouting out from where they're from. We got Florida. Oh, you got one of your mentees is in the house, Michelle. Kim says, Michelle has certainly been a mentor to me. Thanks, Michelle. So happy to be here with you today. We got folks calling in from the Dominican Republic. This is so awesome. And we got questions already coming in. So this is fantastic. And we're gonna get to those.
Wonderful.
So yeah, Michelle, there's so many great things that you mentioned there, just right off the top, that's, well, first, Simon and Gus are great names for cats. I just want to say that.
Thank you. I have to give credit to my husband. He names them after characters in books. So you guys can try to guess who those are.
Okay, drop that in the chat if you can guess who Simon and Gus from which books, which literature. And then, you talked about, work time flexibility and some of the pros and cons of that with I'd love to hear too more about how do you differentiate from meeting to meeting on Zoom and make that interesting? It's do you change your background? Do you change your shirt? What keeps you awake? Do you stretch? Do you switch from coffee to tea? What are these things that help Michelle? And also you talked about boundaries for work, which is, I think, really important that we've heard a lot about burnout, and probably some folks on the call have experienced burnout.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a little easier to get burnt out in this context, like I mentioned earlier, because it's can feel like one long Zoom meeting your whole day. So you just mentioned some great ideas, Hunter. I think you can do some small things to differentiate. I mean, you could try changing your background from every meeting or mixing it up. That actually adds something different to the physical setting. Getting up and going for a walk, even if you're walking to the kitchen or out in your hallway, like I live in an apartment building, or just moving around to just wake yourself up a bit. That is a huge difference. And in talking to people, that sounded, like a duh moment there, right? But get to know the people you're meeting with, and ask them about their day, join early, use that time to network and chat with people, ask them what they're working on. Those are important things to do, and they add a little color to your day. You mentioned a second thing, Hunter. What was the second part of that question?
Let's see. I fire off a lot of questions. It's in my.
No, it was related to that one though.
Yeah. Yeah. Changing up the environment, and also boundaries around work.
Boundaries. Oh, wow. Yeah. This is really, really important, because I think one thing that has helped me is I really try to have a routine every day. That way, put boundaries around your whole day. If you get up at the same time, have breakfast at the same time, maybe I like to exercise in the morning, maybe you like to exercise in the afternoon or evening, but trying to do something your workday consistently, just as you would in the office, or hopefully as you would in the office. But again, it's more important to do it when you're working from home, because I'm just going to keep saying it over and over. What we're doing here just becomes one long meeting. And so you need, just for your physical and mental health, to mix that up and make sure that you're standing up. Like I actually have a standing desk, and sometimes I raise it up and change that, or I wheel my desk around to another part of my room. Sounds a little crazy, right? This is the new normal. But just mixing up things a little bit like that to add some variety to your day. That's really important. And to try to shut down every day and really shut down. You know, you need that time with Francis and Simon and Gus and whoever your friends or family, the people that you love and care about, because they're the most important things in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to make time for them.
Yeah, I love that. We also got from the house here, B. Gibson said, I've taken meetings from a range of locations around my home to get a bit more separation, and walking meetings or taking it from the local park can offer that up too. Those are great, B. Thank you for that.
Yeah, great ideas.
Yeah, I love that. You know, especially, it's funny, right before we started this call, Michelle and I were like figuring out tech stuff. And I was like, we were, you know, in your Zoom, you can actually change the audio settings to mute the background more, which is great. You know, it's by default, I think it's set to auto. If you go to settings, audio, and then you can play with it there, but you can turn it to high, and then it does, you might sound like slightly more robotic because it's what it does is it's getting rid of all the background sound, but it's perfect for these types of things when you like want, you know, if you have the, you know, well, it doesn't mute the dog clearly, but if you want to like go for a walk or something, it can work for stuff like that. So there's little ways that we can help ourselves, like Michelle said, break up the day so it doesn't just become this like Groundhog Day experience.
Right, exactly. I don't know how many times, I'm sure everyone on the call has probably heard this, you're talking to a coworker and you're trying to remember something and you're like, was that yesterday or last year? I don't know. It's, you know, so this is it's much more challenging.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you know, on the flip side of it, there is some of the positive things where we can, you know, it's the balance like, okay, well, now we can maybe travel with our family and we can still, we're not, you know, off the grid from work. We can still do both. So there are some positive things too that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of positive things. Absolutely. In fact, I think the new normal is here with us to stay. So it's important to make the best of that.
Yeah. I completely agree. So right now what I'm doing, folks, is I got some pre-submitted questions that some of y'all sent us before we started. So what I'm doing is I'm going down those questions. And so if you have any more, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll bounce them in. So someone asked as well, how can we get more comfortable with change and uncertainty in the workplace?
Yeah, wow, that's a tough one. Most people find change hard. I mean, I think that's the norm. But one thing that you can always count on is change. So I try to view change as an opportunity. Maybe it's a new job or a different department, or you've been asked to lead a project or train a coworker. And those are great opportunities that can possibly lead to something even better, something interesting and fun. So I think it's really important to look for the good, look for the opportunity in every situation and try to imagine the best outcome. And I know that's not easy, but I think it's good really for just your mental state, right? Because you'll always have to deal with change. That change is a constant. I do want to say, you know, you might need help doing that. If you're really struggling with change at work, think about talking to your boss, a coworker, human resources. We put the human in resources, family or friends. And if it's really, really tough for you, you might consider a career or a life coach or even therapy to help deal with change. And that is absolutely okay. It's important to get the help you need. And, you know, something interesting I'll note is while the pandemic has highlighted a lot of mental health challenges and disparities, it's also made it much more possible to talk about it and to take care of yourself. So certainly get the help you need in any way you need it.
I think those are so great, Michelle. And I agree that because of everything that all of us have gone and are going through over the past couple of years, I think one of the perks has been this sort of demystifying hardship, and challenges, whether they be financial or emotional. And, I'm a huge proponent for myself. Therapy works for me, like I go once, sometimes twice a week, folks, because there's work to be done. It's progress. But it's those things, and like Michelle mentioned earlier too, whether it's like yoga or going for a walk and like these things, this outside help. Life coaches, speaking of life coach, and I promise I'm not making commissions on these things. I just think these people are awesome. This person that I got to interview, talk with last week, and actually we chatted with quite a few life coaches, but Esther Lully, she is so cool. She's such a great life coach. Check her out, whether you work with her or just like, she had so many resources. Google her and check out what she's up to, because she is a boss. And I had so many great tips about, what she provides as a life coach. And there was so many great tips in there. Again, I chatted with her. She has her own website as well. So shout out to Esther. I love her. And yeah, I love too, Michelle, that you like, the one thing we can count on is change. That is some age-old wisdom there. That, I think the Buddha was talking about that. That is still today, that like, well, if there's one thing we can count on is that life is uncertain.
Right.
But there's ways to, celebrate that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of the things, I say all of the good things that happen in our life are because of change, right? I mean, you have Francis. It sounds like Francis is a new puppy. That's a big change.
Yeah.
Some people have children and families, and there's wonderful. Don't just think about change as, oh my God, somebody's going to ask me to speak at an event, or somebody is, I might do a job change or something like that. There's positives in everything. I hope, or I like to look for them.
Yeah. As the old phrase goes too, no mud, no lotus. Because we gotta be in the, sometimes we gotta be in the dirt for the beauty to come out of it,
Nice. I haven't heard that one.
I offer it up. I certainly didn't make it up. I can tell you that. That one's, gotta be careful with that one. It's an antique. Don't drop it.
Oh.
So someone asked too on this topic too, and in like, if we're talking about in the professional world, what soft skills are key to thrive in this ever evolving and changing new normal, Michelle?
Yeah, well, we touched on some of them, and yeah. I know there are, I think I saw a lot of questions, not just in the chat, but previously, about introverts. And so this can be really tough for a lot of people. I think the soft skills are, and sometimes you really have to fake it till you make it. Okay. And you've all heard that. That's an old saying, predates me. Sometimes you really just have to pretend you're really enjoying all these Zoom meetings. Sometimes it's that helps, because it can be very, tiring. Again, going back to the meetings, it can be hard for people who it doesn't feel natural to, especially introverts. But I think practicing on people, this is going to sound strange, but practice on people you already know, in terms of people you feel comfortable with. Practicing talking to people, getting to know people, making small talk. You don't have to go big and reach out to a stranger on LinkedIn if you're not quite ready for that. But that helps. Those kind of soft skills are really around being able to introduce yourself, being able to connect with others, showing interest in others. That those soft skills, that EQ is really more important than ever, I would say, because you don't always have the opportunity to be in a room with someone and say, I'm reading your body language and it doesn't match what you're saying. I just want to make sure I understand. So you have to work a little bit harder around soft skills, and particularly emotional intelligence, reading people, and being self-aware as well.
Yeah, the self-awareness is key, right? And I think that goes back to some of the outside help, can be helpful with that. And also, and we'll we'll talk more about it soon with, mentorship and stuff. That feedback can be really helpful for self-awareness. Sometimes it's challenging, but it can be, if it's coming from someone that we trust and feel safe with, that is can be helpful as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what else we got here. So related question. So all these, when we were talking about change, someone asked, how can we foster this adaptability mindset? So are there things that you would recommend, like how we can, encourage that in ourselves? Because it's one thing to say it and think it. It's a different thing to do it and feel it, right?
Well, again, and maybe I'm going to repeat myself here, Hunter. I'm sorry, but I think just viewing things as opportunities, because this goes back to the change question. I think is, how do we adapt? How do we deal with change? There's not an easy answer. I think it really is trying to view things as positive opportunities and looking for the positive in everything. It's hard to adapt to new situations. I struggle with that. And I've worked on it throughout my career, although I have gotten to a place where I get excited about change because I like new things. I like starting over. I like the opportunity to reinvent. And maybe it helps viewing things like that, like where is the opportunity for me in this moment? I think that can help you adapt a lot more. And again, if you seriously struggle with it, seek help for it. And whether that's professional help or talking to coworkers, because chances are you are not alone. Okay? Don't stay silent. Talk to others about what you're feeling and experiencing. I also lead change management. So a big aspect of change management is making sure everyone is all in the moment and understanding what's happening. And so, change management is a real thing because people struggle with change.
Oh, that is so true. And I know it's true for me. And I love that you highlighted, seeing things as possibilities and connecting with other people. I think you bring up such a great point that it's often, at least I experience this, like I can think I'm the only one that has this problem, or I'm the only person that thinks this way. And then once I check in with some of my peers, I'm like, oh, you too? And it's such a relief because I can get so caught up in my own story,
Yeah, well, actually, I'll share a little. Well, I don't know if it's a secret, but a funny thing about myself, I have a nickname with some coworkers, Captain Obvious, because when I don't understand what's going on or I can't read the room, I will say, well, wait a minute, what's happening here? Is everybody feeling, anxious about this? I state the obvious, but it's important to me because I'm somebody who needs to understand what's happening, in any given situation or conversation. So it's normally a strength, but it can be a weakness too. It can be, I can go too far with it. So.
No, I think that's lovely to hear because Captain Obvious, you want to get like a cape with like CEO on it. But I think it's wonderful to hear that, because what you're doing is you're checking in, is what it sounds like to me. And it can clear the air, some advice that I got before going live on a talk or if I'm leading a presentation or something, if it's appropriate to actually state it, you're like, I'm actually a little nervous right now. And just to say it, like, removes the stigma or the smoke and mirrors of like, oh, I got to act a certain way. Because 9 times out of 10, when I say where I'm at and just kind of like check-in way, people are then on my side. People are then, because when I can say when other people do it, I am rooting for you. I'm like, oh, you got this. Oh, you're nailing this now, And we've all been there. We all get nervous, even though folks that don't look nervous, we get nervous. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely. Naming it is really important.
What's that?
Naming it,
Naming
it. Whatever's in the room or the conversation, naming it, because it has a way of dispelling the mystery and calming the situation. So
yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to segue a little bit. We've talked a little bit about LinkedIn and networking, and if you could speak to, in these times we have those tools, how networking plays in development, whether you're starting out, maybe you're in a career pivot or change or coming back. A lot of folks, are coming back right now.
Mhm.
Are there any advice you could touch on about how to connect with folks either inside or outside of if you're in a company, how to connect with maybe people that you work with in these digital times, or if you're looking for a new opportunity, are there other ways, including LinkedIn, that we can connect?
Yeah, sure, of course. Networking, sometimes people, when you say you need to network, sometimes people will roll their eyes like, oh God, no, this sounds very painful and difficult. But just remember, it's just another way of saying you're meeting people, you're sharing information, your ideas, you're building relationships. And that kind of takes what we were just talking about, takes the mystery out of it. It's just getting to know people. And if it leads to something bigger and better, that's wonderful. So if it scares you, and that's normal, again, and very common. So I mentioned earlier, start with people like friends, family, coworkers, maybe people in your church, or if you play sports. Start with people you are already comfortable talking to. That helps tremendously. Use virtual work meetings like we're doing, initiate conversations, try joining early and use the time to chat and get to know one another. And you might find some common interests or discover someone has experience that you're interested in. Explore new projects at work. That's also a way of expanding your internal network. Talk to coworkers about what they're working on or how they got involved in a project. Look for people either in roles you're interested in or people who demonstrate something you want to learn or do or get better at. Maybe an expert in a particular field or a great speaker, not me. Someone known for their integrity that you want to emulate. I mean, they could become a great mentor or coach. I would consider joining groups like an alumni network or professional networking groups. For example, if you're an application developer, say in New Jersey, try researching IT professional associations in New Jersey or IT networking in New Jersey. And certainly LinkedIn is a fantastic resource. You can identify and connect and engage with people, again, at companies you're interested in or people in jobs that interest you. Because in this new normal, it's more normal than ever to reach out to a stranger on LinkedIn and say, hey, you look like you have a great career in engineering. I'd love to find out more about you and how you got where you are. Now, rarely does a person read something like that and say, I'm not wasting my time with you. No, people like to share. They like to talk about themselves. And they like to help other people because somewhere along the line, somebody helped them get where they are. So you want to pay it forward. Also, your resume. Keep your resume up to date. Even if you're not actively looking, it is a great mental exercise, and it keeps sort of a elevator speech going in your mind about who you are, what you're good at, what you've done, your achievements. That's very important as well. And for that time when someone might say, hey, well, you sound really interesting. I'd love to see your resume. You don't have to scramble to look for it. You have it on hand.
Those are great. Those are great tips. I love to, paying it forward. There's another one that I like, that's sending the elevator back down.
Oh, that's a great one. It is. Yeah, a really good one.
The actor Jack Lemmon used to say that one. IMDb him, Google him. He was great.
Wow.
Yeah. Random trivia for the day.
That's impressive. That's your second one. You had that quote about mud. And now
it's one of my skills is memorizing things other people have written. There's an original idea.
Great skill. If you can do something with that, Hunter, I mean, I think, somewhere out there might be able to help you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love too. You're getting a lot of love in the chat here, Michelle. People are really, and you said you weren't a great speaker. I refute. I think you're a great speaker, by the way. You're doing awesome. You're getting so much love in the chat here, and this is going great. Great advice. Kim said Michelle does a wonderful job of keeping us all connected. Kim is the person that said that is Michelle has been a mentor for them.
Thank you.
Yes, let's all go to a night of trivia. Maybe that can be one of our networking things. We can do a digital trivia night. Happy hour is every hour because you're supplying the bar and I'm supplying the questions.
That's a great idea.
It's fun. So if you have more questions, folks, we have about 20-ish minutes left. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. In the meantime, I'll keep doing trivia and going down the questions that I have pre-submitted here. So let's see. So someone asked, as managers, how would you advise connecting with our team to understand what success looks like to them right now? What a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a manager's job to understand what's important to their team members. And if you are a manager, you might want to set up time with each team member. And of course, let them know ahead of time what you want to talk about. Ask them what success looks like for them and what their career goals are and how you can help them get there. And again, when I say get there, whether that's at your current company or beyond, because they might have career or passions that are beyond the scope of the company you're at currently. And that's okay too. I think a manager's job is to develop someone for their next move, whether that is at their current company or beyond. Although HealthFirst is a fantastic company, and I encourage everyone to research HealthFirst. It's a great place to work. You should need to be willing to invest your time with your team members. And if you're a team member, meaning, not a manager, and you want to have that conversation with your boss, don't wait. It's really important. And remember that it's their job to make time and invest time in you. So let them know what you'd like to talk about.
Great.
Did I on that? Okay. Did I get that one, Hunter?
A+ on the test.
Thank you, Hunter.
I'm also going to give a shout out to, forgive me if I mispronounce your name, but Renee has a cat on screen, and I just want to say hello. Awesome. Great.
Oh, sure does. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So adorable. Oh my gosh. Can you tell I'm an animal person?
Yeah, that's a beautiful cat, Renee.
Okay, friends. So let's see what else we got here. What benefits do you believe companies should provide to make sure that folks also that we're also adapting and keeping up with the new normal? So maybe if I could open this question up a little bit, if you want to talk a little bit about what HealthFirst provides, perhaps, and then also maybe suggestions that you might have for other companies that you've either heard about that, maybe there's some room for growth and improvement.
Sure. Well, benefits are so wide ranging today, even prior to the pandemic. It really started, the scope of benefits that companies offer has been widening. But I would say the pandemic, if there were, a silver lining in it at all, it's certainly that benefits have gotten much more flexible and broader. There are, and at HealthFirst, we have wellness benefits like mental health support and biometric screenings and nutrition education. Many companies offer financial awareness and education and tuition assistance. And I think companies should provide all these resources as well as access to learning that helps employees develop throughout their career. HealthFirst provides a leadership development program. Some companies do that internally or externally, and you can find more information from your HR person about the benefits at your company. But I think benefits will continue to be to expand, and we will get more into people's personal lives and making their personal lives much more flexible in terms of time, whether it's a compressed work week or we've talking a lot about pets here. So a lot of support around pets. Some companies invite pets to the office. There are so many different types of benefits. I don't think I could list all of them, but again, your HR department would be a great resource to you in terms of exploring those.
That is very helpful. And I love hearing too. I'm curious, does HealthFirst, because we've had, and maybe you mentioned this and I missed it, with helping to, as you are a healthcare provider, do y'all there's a lot of folks that are like discovering that they're neurodivergent, and like we've talked a lot about that here at Power to Fly. Do you have resources for people to help like diagnose things later in life? I'm kind of throwing a curveball at you. This wasn't on our
I'm not familiar with what you just described, but because I'm not a healthcare expert, but we do provide extensive benefits to our employees. Just to be clear, we don't provide the same benefits that our members receive because we are predominantly a Medicaid, Medicare plan, and by definition, our employees cannot participate in those plans.
Oh yeah, what a catch-22.
But we do offer very good benefits, and yes, you can go for. We have annual wellness screenings. I mentioned the biometrics earlier. In fact, we have an extensive array of benefits that a lot of the employees have access to, and we I don't want to drop too many company names. We blend them into one resource where people can access all of their benefits, whether it's their 401k, because they're a 401, there are financial benefits. When I said benefits are wide ranging, they could be the 401k you have, the healthcare benefits you have. They could be transportation. And I think it's important that employers today offer a really broad range of benefits. And I think the future, if some companies haven't already done this, is more of an a la carte type benefit structure. Like what's important to Hunter is maybe you mentioned therapy earlier, so you opened it, and I'll just say then mental health would be important to Hunter. Pet insurance is probably important to you. Maybe a gym membership is important. Those are just examples, but I think an a la carte type benefits structure is really in the future, because we all lead very different lives. We're at different places in our lives. Somebody might need assistance with their children, childcare supplements. There really are just so many different things that people need and would be interested in.
Amazing. We had Brandon mentioned that HealthFirst has a partnership with Spring Health for mental health offerings for our employees as well. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Brandon. And Eleanor said, I think a la carte benefits would be amazing. I think that is such, if we're talking about the new normal, that is such an interesting and wonderful perk of the new times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's see. We got about 15 minutes left here, folks. So keep your questions coming. I'm starting to get some more in, which is awesome. Let's see. Here's another one. What does the future of work environment look like for you, Michelle? And what do you think we should be prepared for moving ahead, if any, hot takes of the future?
Well, I think we're going to continue to expand on this hybrid environment. I think at the discussion we just had around benefits, I think that's going to be huge going forward, because more and more people are going to work in a hybrid environment. So we'll have to adapt to that. So, and I include myself in that. I'm somebody actually who likes to go into the office, and I do that several days a week because I live in an apartment in the city, and sometimes I get really tired of my room here. But So I think companies have to be prepared to provide a balance there. And I think that balance is really important for people, because while you might have a completely remote job or a hybrid role, there really is no substitute for in-person interaction at some point. I mean, that's really valuable. You learn so much more about people, even just, sitting across them, shaking somebody's hand. Someone maybe touches your arm and says, "You did a great job on that presentation." I mean, that's very different than hearing it on a video call. So those moments are very important. So I think being open to a blend of that, because that then just enriches the relationships that you have with others on your virtual meetings. And I think this will continue. I don't see us ever returning to, full-time office days, or very few industries. Some will, like real estate. That's something that just lends itself to being together all of the time. But IT, probably not. So I think just going back to that adaptability, it's important to, be able to adapt to it, but you also have to find the situation that works best for you. I mean, the good news is there's a lot of variety out there to choose from.
Yes, there's so much variety now, and I feel like it can be easy to get, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, when there's like, oh, there's so many choices. And for me, some people, I think, either fight or flight, like, oh, I'm going to go get it. And, or from, I'm more of like, I don't know what to do. And I think it's wonderful, where we started this conversation was talking about our passions and how they align with our careers. And I feel like would you say that helps like us focus and narrow down maybe when there are so many options?
What you mean, pursuing your passion?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do want to say, we don't all have the luxury of pursuing a passion, right? Some of us, and actually most everybody throughout your life will experience a time where you are at a job or you stay in a job because there are other people depending on you, right? Maybe you have a mortgage to pay, you have children to take care of, and so your priority is providing for them. Maybe you choose a job with fantastic benefits because you have a health condition, and so that's a priority to you. Maybe you take a job because of the location, because you need to be close to somebody. So I want to mention that, because throughout life, you aren't always going to have the luxury of just, pursuing a passion. If you do have a passion, and maybe you're an engineer who just cares deeply about animal welfare. Well, you could certainly find a job at a company or an organization associated with that, like the Humane Society. Try to pursue your passions in an environment that supports your passions. We're not all independently wealthy and can't pursue some of those passions, but you can get as close to it as you can. And I do think that's really important, because, work follows us throughout the day, right? Where we carry it with us. And if you're not as happy as you can be in the environment you're in, the people you care about, the people you love, and when you turn that computer off and go to be with them, they're going to know that, they're going to experience that as well. So important to find what sort of lights your fire and get as close to that as possible.
Thank you for that. Love that. I got a direct question here. It said, they're consider themselves of a generation that are not as good as with computers, and they feel like the technical advancements sometimes can limit their professional development. Is there any advice that you would recommend for looping in their managers with our digital struggles? They ask. So I'm not so good with computers, I didn't grow up with them, but now in these times I'm expected to know all of this stuff. How do I communicate with this to, managers and my team potentially, without feeling like it's, like, oh, I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to,
Well, listen, I this reminds me of, when we all went remote during the pandemic. Everybody was learning, not everyone, some people had been working remote before, so it wasn't as big a transition. But for me, I was struggling with the background. I was, in fact, I still am, because Hunter just before we got on showed me how to use the noise diffuser. I didn't even know that existed. So to whomever's asking that, you're not alone. First and foremost, you're not alone. Everybody struggles to some extent with technology or with something in the workplace. So I go back to, your manager, it's part of their job to have that conversation with you. And if you're struggling with being able to do your job, a skill challenge, then certainly have a conversation first and foremost with your manager. If you're not comfortable with your manager, your HR rep, speak to them. And the company, hopefully, that you're at should provide skill training or resources for you to get up to speed. Maybe you have a coworker who could help you. Don't be shy about asking, hey, Hunter, I don't know how to do this program, and you seem to know a lot about it. Can you help me out? Again, people tend to want to help other people when asked. So again, don't stay silent, ask for help.
That is such good advice. A friend of mine told me once, they said, what do you do after you ask for help? And I was like, I have no idea. He said, you ask for more help.
That's good. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's a good one, because then, more help is on the way.
Right. And then be open to others asking. So pay it forward,
Yeah.
send the elevator back down, help others as you've been helped.
Yes, absolutely. So friends, we have just a few minutes. I've been enjoying this conversation with Michelle so much. And we also asked some questions here. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see this? Okay. Getting real with Michelle. Not that we haven't been real this whole time, but here's some more questions. So we asked Michelle, how would you describe the culture at HealthFirst in one word? And you said trailblazer. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is sort of one of our taglines. It's the name of we have a trailblazer culture at HealthFirst. We're a relatively young company, I would say 27 years. And so a lot of what we do at HealthFirst, we're blazing a trail. We're trying new things, whether it's with our members or with our employees. So it's just, we like to think of ourselves as trailblazers, blazing the trail. Maybe I'm beating that to death. I think you understand at this point. We like to lead the, the crowd on things. And that's what makes us special at HealthFirst.
Yes, absolutely. And touche, Eleanor, touche. I don't know if that's how you spell it. That one word, that wasn't one word. You are correct. Extra points to table 6. Eleanor's table 6 get extra points in a free round. The next round is on you because you're supplying the bar. So Michelle, what's your favorite part about working at HealthFirst? And you said the people, they really care about delivering the best healthcare to New Yorkers. They are passionate about and committed to the mission. And they're a lot of fun. How are they a lot of fun? I believe you, but how are they a lot of fun, Michelle?
Oh, well, I mean, they make coming to work every day fun, and they're fun by, I think it's a blend of really caring about what they're doing in the community in terms of providing healthcare to the underserved of New York. And whether you're an engineer at HealthFirst or in HR or in finance, or you're a care manager working directly with members, hopefully, and again, this is a manager's job to help you with this, you can align your work to that larger mission. Maybe I like to think of my role as helping people to be better leaders, better managers, and creating a better environment for all of the employees who serve this mission. So being able to relate to what you're doing as an organization, connecting with that, and seeing how the work you do helps members lead better lives. Members like Hunter.
Yes, is great healthcare. And what are your top tips for someone who is interviewing? You said, be prepared, research the company and people you will be meeting, have a value proposition, and what's unique about you? What's your superpower? Smile, we talked about, and be engaged.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I maybe people are hearing that word superpower a lot, but it rings true. It's everyone has something special to offer, and I don't know, and I would recommend against people, when you read a job description saying you can do all those things, because that's probably not likely. Focus on the things that you're really good at and that you enjoy doing. Like one thing I might say is I really enjoy working on leadership development. I like helping people solve problems. I love to get into a messy situation and help people figure out how to get out of it. Now, other people, that might be their worst nightmare and not want to do that at all. So really important to focus on how you can add value to the organization. And remember, how that value might be something that lights your fire and helps you to become more developed and happy in your role as well.
Fantastic. I love that. And also, yes, be sure to check out, Erica's just dropping in right here, HealthFirst company page of Power to Fly, and you can see the jobs. HealthFirst is hiring. We also have a representative that was messaging me, letting me know, just reminding me that, thank you, that they are hiring right now. So you can check out what's listed on our Power to Fly website, and you can also go to careers.healthfirst.org, and you can see some of the, there you go, some of the listings there. Great. So Michelle, thank you so much for this. How can people stay connected to you? Do you use LinkedIn? We talked about that. Is that the best way?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there and I'm active on LinkedIn. You can email me at HealthFirst if you want to. I'm at mhicks@healthfirst.org. I'm happy to talk to anyone, help anyone in their career journey. So I've really enjoyed being a part of this, and I strongly encourage you to check out the HealthFirst website, because I do love working at HealthFirst, and it's a special place.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. This has been so great. And as promised, I'm going to wake him up from his nap, but he's been sleeping all day. Here, Francis.
Oh, beautiful Francis.
Oh, there
He's really waving, Hunter. I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he's doing that all by himself, I promise.
Very cute.
Well, thank you all. Thank you again, Michelle. And also thank you, folks, for being here. And know that you are making a step in your career right now just by showing up. Showing up is sometimes the hardest thing to do, right? And you're doing it. You are, so you're one step closer to that new job, that new pivot, that new breakthrough. This is happening for you right now. So please give yourself a pat on the back, because personally, I have a negativity bias. I think about all the things I didn't do, but I invite you to think about the thing you did today, which was show up. So thank you and good job. I just want to say that. So friends, you can go to the Power to Fly website. You can follow us on all the things. Look at our schedule. We got lots of great chat and learns. Next month's summit, so many awesome things. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again, Michelle. Digital round of applause to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I really enjoyed being a part of this.